And now sports.
Hello again, you're with Aljazeera. Let's have a look at the top stories. Brazil's Supreme Court has denied a motion to throw out impeachment proceedings against President Rousseff. A majority of judges rejected the Attorney General's request for an injunction. President Rousseff is accused of government corruption and economic mismanagement. US presidential candidates Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton have been going head-to-head in the Democratic debate in New York. The state's primary will be held on April the 19th, and both candidates have deep roots there. A magnitude 6.2 earthquake has killed at least 9 people in Japan. Aftershocks are hampering rescue operations, which are ongoing. All right, let's return then to that US Democratic debate which took place in New York just an hour or so ago. It wrapped up. We can go live to Los Angeles now, on the other side of the country, and talk to Peter Mathews, who's a political analyst and professor of political science. First of all, what did you make of this rather virulent tone that's entering into the debate between these two?
It's to be expected because everything's been going up to a crescendo toward the primary in New York, which is just a few days away. And each of the sides really hit hard. And Bernie Sanders brought up the issue of money in politics, which seemed to pervade the whole debate all the way through. And Hillary was on the defensive saying, you know, I take money from Wall Street, but I'm not influenced by them. And Bernie kept hitting her about the gap between rich and poor. And Hillary came back, though, to talk about Bernie's ideas as well. And so it was a two-sided attack. And I believe that this debate will have a major impact on what happens on Tuesday. And by the way, the polls are tightening. Bernie Sanders was 70% behind Hillary a few months ago in New York, and now he came up to 20% behind. That was a few weeks ago. And today's poll, the latest one I saw, was he's 6% behind, or 6 points behind,
now,
50 to 44.
Okay, well, New York yields, 291 Democratic delegates. How important, therefore, is it
That's right.
to Senator Sanders and, of course, to Hillary Clinton?
It's extremely important. It's the largest single set of delegates so far, and it's proportionally allocated. So whatever percent of the vote each one gets, they'll get that many percent of the delegates, approximately. So if Sanders gets 51% of the vote, Hillary gets 49, they'll probably get about the same number of delegates. If the split's larger, they'll get a little bit more for the one who got the higher percentage. So it's not a winner-take-all primary, unlike some of the other Republican primaries were. But it's still a significant one psychologically, because if Bernie Sanders wins this primary, even by 1%, it'll be seen as a sign of weakness and a momentum build-up that can't be stopped. But Hillary's got also a lot of solid points, because she has the machine behind the Democratic Party establishment with her, the machine, she has name recognition, and she was a senator. She was elected twice from New York State, but Bernie has the Brooklyn accent, which helps quite a bit too. And he's got the grassroots and the enthusiasm. The enthusiasm of a lot of young people and supporters are out there going door to door for him, which Hillary doesn't have really.
Yeah, but also, I mean, with the state, with a third of the voting public Latino or black, on the face of it, that would favour, of course, Hillary Clinton, who polls rather well with minorities.
It would, normally speaking, but Hillary has made a few setbacks. Had some of those with the African American community, mainly when she, recently came up in a skit where she and the mayor mentioned the phrase CP time, meaning colored people's time, and that's a throwback to an earlier era, and it looked on askance and very horrified some of the audience when they said that just a few days ago. And that kind of thing, as well as the fact that at one time she used the word super predator to describe some of the incorrigible people, kids who were selling crack cocaine back in the 80s, to justify her husband's crime bill. But that was very poorly taken by the African American community. Other people of conscience who say, you can't write anyone off as a super predator. So those kinds of gaffes, and the Bill Clinton campaigning for her recently took on the Black Lives Matters group and argued with them about why he hadn't had the crime bill. Those things are a problem, but there are far more policies that were talked about today, which I was very encouraged to see. For example, foreign policy on Israel and Palestine. It was very, very interesting because Bernie took a very strong stand that the U.S. should have an even hand and a fair attitude toward Palestine as well as Israel, not just one-sided. Hillary seems to be much more influenced by the AIPAC organization, which is a pro-Israel lobby, and Bernie said, look, We can never have peace unless there's fairness, and the Palestinians have suffered so much in the pushback in the whole impasse in the Middle East, and we have to give both sides fairness. And so that was quite refreshing to see a Democratic candidate, who happens to be Jewish American, by the way, come out with that strong position of peace in the Middle East through fairness.
Peter Mathews, thank you very much indeed for joining us from LA. Now, the United Nations is looking for a new leader, and for the first time in its 70-year history, all the member states are able to question the candidates for the Secretary General's job. The UN General Assembly responded to the demand that Ban Ki-moon's successor be chosen in a more transparent way.